We're here for the latest edition of Impala Live, which is hosted by explore.org and online at www.impalalive.org. And today we're incredibly honored to be talking to Dale Zimmerman, who is the author of The Birds of Kenya and Northern Tanzania. So I'll start off by asking Dale to introduce himself and his work.
Introduce myself.
Yeah.
Well, I hardly know where to begin. It's so good to be back in Kenya again. We're here. I was here twice last year, and I'm hoping to be back again later this summer. I'm over here with my protege, Carol Fugali, and we're busily documenting bird populations here and there around the country, comparing them eventually with those populations that we knew some years ago, because Carol was here back in the 1990s, and I've been coming to Kenya since, 1961. And we've seen lots of changes, of course, in the country, and significant reductions in bird populations in many areas. So we would just like to get a handle on the specifics of some of these reductions, trying to determine why and to what degree. Also, we're interested in certain rare species like Heinz babbler. We've been down in Meru near Rhino River Camp studying Heinz babblers, which we want to look into the history of it in that area. It was not listed among the birds of Meru National Park by John Williams when he published his Field Guide to National Parks, a couple of decades ago. So we don't know whether it had been overlooked prior to that time, or if it's just now appearing. We simply don't know. We'd like to investigate that. But it's now locally fairly common there. There are numerous groups. So we've been down there photographing them.
Thank you. So over 60 years of looking at birds in East Africa and Kenya, do you have a favorite bird?
Oh, goodness. I get this question so often. A favorite bird. It's so difficult. Someone asked me just the other day down there at Meru what my favorite place was in Kenya. And that's almost as difficult as answering the favorite bird question. But, there are just so many. A few years ago, I was asked as a bird artist, because I paint birds, something about the 10 most beautiful world birds. And I remember that of my choices, I think 4 of them were Kenyan, East African species. One of my favorites, because it is such a beautiful creature and quite an elegant bird, is golden-breasted starling. It is very nice. But on the other hand, there are so many others. Some of the owls, I'm especially interested in owls and caprimulges because of their intricate patterns and their challenges being nocturnal. So there are so many, but that's a very difficult question, Dino. I wish you hadn't asked me that one.
I know, I hate being asked what my favorite insect is, so that is...
By the way, what is your favorite insect?
I love all of them.
Well,
yes.
That's the way with me with birds.
Yeah.
And
so one bird that we have here that is very special, and we have a lot of birders coming looking for it, is the African finfoot.
oh, well, I'll tell you, that is a bird we would very much like to see. I have only seen 2 or 3 in East Africa, and I've never had an opportunity to photograph it.
Yeah.
Carol, of course, has never seen it.
Yeah.
So, yes. Do you see them with any regularity?
Down at the river, but why is it that people are so fascinated by finfoots? What is
Well,
it
it's more or less unique. You know, there are only a few finfoots around in the world, and this is the only African one. And it's quite an elegant bird. You know, its form, its shape, the soft part colors. It's a very special bird. I wouldn't say it's my favorite because I simply don't know it that well, but no, that is one that I would very much like to see.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was regular here.
It is, and we're hoping that we can find the nesting site.
Oh.
And it's frequently seen on the Impala live camera, which is
Is that
broadcasted
right?
during the day. Yes.
Well, oh my.
So when you're back at home, you could watch the live cams and see if you can spot the finfoot that way.
That isn't as satisfying as
Yes.
being over here and seeing the real thing where it belongs.
So
This is another of my favorite birds. I'm especially interested in turacos as a
Yes,
family,
yeah.
and as you know by now, my latest book it's called Turaco Country, and it's just Ross's turaco is another of my very favorite birds.
Yes.
I almost think I'd rank that certainly up with, maybe in advance of, ahead of golden-breasted starling.
Yeah. That is incidentally one of my parents' favorite birds, the Ross's turako.
Oh, I see.
Because
Well,
they enjoy birding as well.
Well, it was one of the birds that I sort of dreamed of seeing before I first came to Africa, because I'd been interested in African birds for a very long time before I was able to make my initial trip here. And that was perhaps the bird I most wanted to see at that time. And we saw them beautifully in the Mara, and I photographed them, took motion pictures of them, got some stills. In fact, I have it on the cover of Turaco Country, one of those pictures I took in the Mara.